What's up, guys? Midwest Tour Review here, back again. So today we're going to talk about ratchets. Specifically, I was asked a question by one of my Instagram followers about if you had to pick a 1/2 inch, 3/8, and 1/4 inch drive ratchet to use basically for the rest of your life, what would you pick and why? And so, as you guys know, I've got quite an extensive array of ratchets, anything ranging from snap-on to some older nostalgic wrenches such as Walden, Mac, Herbrand, and even an old Craftsman, to some of the more newer boys in the tool game, Capri. Also have an old Armstrong, some more snap-on, some Matcos, Matco quarters, SK quarters, Blue Point, Matco 1/2 inch drive, Protos, Carlisle, Mac Axis, and then some more snap-on. So the question would be, what would I pick and why? So given that some real thought, I wanted to base it on, a ratchet that I've already used in each drive size. So I know the performance, I know the functionality of it. I just wanted to make sure that it was relevant. I didn't want to say, oh, I would use this ratchet, but I have never put my hands on it. You guys know, you've watched my channel long enough, you know that there's a lot of ratchets I've never used before. A lot of that has to do with necessity, right? I have a lot of ratchets, so I have a lot of options. And some of the larger ratchets, such as the Matcos or the Protos, their length is not really useful that often for a DIYer. Now, a mechanic, that may be different, but for the average DIY or home mechanic like myself, you don't get a chance to really utilize them all the time. Maybe you have to do a serpentine belt or something like that, where you need to break or help move the tensioner. You may need to pull that out. Maybe suspension work, you may need to utilize that. But for the most part, your power tools have taken the place of some of these ratchets, especially given the fact that a lot of them are more modular and smaller in size, so they can fit in more areas that maybe only in the past a ratchet could really do. So I don't use my big 1/2 inch drives that often. Same is true for a lot of the 3/8 drives. The long ones, at least. I don't get a chance to use these a lot, but occasionally, an application will present itself and I get to pull those out. But for the most part, the standard length ones are what I use primarily. In the flex heads, I use a lot. So it's going to be realistic, and I'm going to tell you why, and based upon my level of use and why I like it. So for a 1/4 inch drive ratchet, if I had to pick one to use, from this point on out, I think it would have to be the Roto Head. And this one here is part number THNFD72. And this one here, I don't know the year on it, but a really fine ratchet. If I can get it to actuate. Really fine ratchet, very tight. I did get it used, but it is very good condition. But this ratchet has been really good to me. It's small, it's nimble, it can get into a lot of places, and I can put a fairly amount of good torque on it. I've done some larger bolts, 10, 11, 12, 13 millimeter, without any problem with this ratchet. I'm not trying to damage it or destroy it, but wanting to really utilize its size in order to get a fastener loose. So if I had to pick a 1/4 inch drive, it would be this guy here. I do have another version of that slightly older model. This here is the, what's the part number on this guy? TM737. Roto Head as well. Same functionality. But that one I think is a little bit more finer tooth, given that it is slightly newer. I would not use the flex heads. I think the Roto Heads have more functionality than the fixed heads, rather, and so that would be my choice, even over something like these locking flex heads. Now this is a really great ratchet, don't get me wrong, and you can, you know, lock the head in various positions and take advantage of that. It's just that that ratchet seems to be quicker to get onto a fastener without having to slide it down, move it over, just the head position, then lock it back in place. That's a lot of work for this guy. But that ratchet is my favorite for 1/4" drive. Brand, do I think the brand had anything to do with it? Not necessarily. But the other thing is I don't own any other Snap-on 1/4" drives, or 1/4" drive Roto Head, so I can't really compare. For a 3/8 drive ratchet, I would have to probably pick something like this older Snap-on here. This is part number F830, standard size, standard length ratchet, very flexible, very nimble. Given its size, I can utilize it based upon my hand profile, get in there, get the job done. And it's not really fine tooth, but it is more like a coarse tooth one. But because of that, I feel more comfortable putting a significant amount of torque on one of these comparatively to something such as a 72 tooth or 80 tooth ratchet. Yeah, guys, not the long handle ones there. The standard length is my desirable ratchet, because like I said before, you can't always utilize these long ratchets for the average DIY mechanic. Just my opinion. I find myself utilizing a standard length ratchet a lot more than I do even these flex head ratchets, because of their overall length. Just can't get them everywhere. If you had a lift, a post lift or something like that, maybe that would be a different story. But for the average DIYer, we simply don't have that. And then lastly here, the 1/2" drive Snap-on. This one here, I put through a lot of torque and abuse. I've kept it really, really nice. I've utilized it because it's the only 1/2" drive standard length ratchet that I own. It was in pieces when I got it. I restored it, got it cleaned up, got it working really nice, replaced all the guts on it, and it works really well. I think it is a demonstrator model because it does have the E code there, and I believe that's like for demonstration purposes for the Snap-on guys. There's your part number S710. But this ratchet has been tremendous. I mean, you just would not believe the amount of torque and force you can put on a fastener with this ratchet, even at its shorter length comparatively to some of the longer guys back there. But those are my favorites. I'm not, like I said, I'm basing this not necessarily on the brand per se, but rather the functionality of it. There are some other good ratchets out there, such as Capri, which is basically like a Snap-on clone, fine tooth ratchet, but I don't have a lot of miles on this guy. So if I had to base it on what I know about my own collection, I would have to go with this Snap-on over here. Same thing is true for the 1/4" drive. I only have one brand Roto Head, which is Snap-on. So I really can't say comparatively to the likes of like maybe a Icon or somebody like that, for a lesser known brand. And then lastly, the same thing goes true for the 3/8 drive. I have to have a standard length ratchet, and if I had to pick one, it would be one of these guys here. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's really quick. I don't want to drag it out for like 10-12 minutes, and we're already at 9 minutes. So just a quick little video on what I would pick. Leave me down in the comments what you think about my selection of ratchets. Let me know what you would pick if you could only pick 3 ratchets: 1/2", 3/8, 1/4" drive, and let me know why. And I'll reply back to you with my thoughts, and we'll see where this goes. All right, guys. Good night.